Hey everybody. Well, I hope y'all are doing all right this evening. I'm doing great. Sitting there hanging out in the shop, and here I go. I got another old rod to talk about. And a good buddy of mine sent me a text over the weekend about this yard sale. And in the photo, boy, there was a pile of old Berkeley lightning rods and a bunch of pistol grip rods. And man, I was all wound up and I zoomed over there, but I got there some other jackwagon already bought all the lightning rods and some of the other ones I saw in there, but it ended up working out. Now, I did a video here a while back talking about the very first tournament that I was ever able to win. Now, I didn't catch any bass that tournament, but me and my dad fished. I was 11 years old, 1981, and I talked about a combo I won in that tournament. First prize I ever won. And I've been looking for one of these, and I haven't seen one nowhere. I've asked around a lot, but in that yard sale, there it was. Now, this is a 1981 Shakespeare Boron 5.5 foot bait casting rod, medium heavy. This thing's still in pretty good shape. The only thing is the writing's kind of worn off of it, which kind of stinks, but it's still the exact same rod I won in that tournament, like to a T. The only difference is there was also a Shakespeare President reel in there, and I'm going to find one of those. I found a couple on eBay, but I'm wishing I'd have hung on to the one I had because them things are bringing some jack. But I'll find one eventually to go with this and put this whole setup together. I'm pretty stoked about it. These really weren't that great of rods. I didn't ever think. Now, a lot of people loved them, but man, I'm super stoked to have this for my old collection hanging out in here. And I've been looking pretty hard. They're not everywhere to be found. But man, I won that rod. And it was just like this. It had that old Shakespeare reel on it. And I was bound and determined. Now, I've talked to about my dad and him being the long spinning rod guy. That's what he worm fished with and jig fished with. But man, I won this new rig. I wanted to fish with this. So the very first trip, not very long after that, going into that summer, my dad was going to begin to teach me really how to fish a Texas rig. Then you figure I was 11 years old. But I was like, I'm using my new rod I won, as any kid would. So had it rigged up, and man, if you ever tried to catch one of them old Presidents, they did not. They backlashed. But now I was also a little kid, just learning. But I was pretty good with them ambassadors already. But I could not catch that thing worth a darn. But he took me worm fishing. And we were pre-fishing for, back in the old days, they had these old tournaments called Water Sports and Casters. And what they did was a like father-son tournament, father-daughter tournament, that it was only you and your kid. Now, this is way before all the high school fishing. And they did one or two of these a year. And we were pre-fishing for one of those tournaments. And we went up to Montanay area, Horseshoe Bend. It was June, and we were going to worm fish. I was going to get to learn worm fish, so my dad had me a Texas rig worm rigged up on this old 5.5 foot bait caster, and we were throwing his old favorite worm. Now, this was one of my dad's favorite ones. The purple with silver flake with a fire tail. We used this one, we used the red with silver flake, and we used black. They wasn't going to hit one of them three that we don't need to fish. Anyway, that particular day, we were using the purple with silver flake, firetail, and we're fishing these big steep bluff lines, and my dad was catching the living tar out of them. And I'm sitting back there with, and I'm like, I don't know if it's a bass. I can't feel nothing. I can't tell what's going on. I think, looking back at it, I think everything I thought was a tree was probably a bass holding on to that worm, but I just wasn't. I never caught a fish all day long. But I chucked that worm all day long. My dad just caught the living fire out of them, big ones. And, but I stuck with my old rig here. I so wish I'd have kept that whole mess. I don't know how, again, like many other things, I just let it all slip away over the years. But never thought I'd be on YouTube making videos about it either. But who knew? I didn't. But man, this rod brought back old memories. I remember one old bluff. I remember it. My dad's old Beretta bass boat, going up that bluff. I can remember trying so hard to understand, what am I feeling? Is it a fish? Is it not a fish? Is it a tree? Is it... I remember it like it's yesterday. Every time I pull up on that bluff, I think about that. Purple worm, this old bait caster. Wish I'd have caught one on it that day, but I didn't. Well, that's good stuff right there. That is good stuff right there. Are any of these guys ever going to tell stories like that from when their dad took them live scoping? Hell no. Sorry, it's not going to happen. I'm not a hater, but dadgum, folks, it's good stuff. So excited I found this rod. Had to dig one of them. I have very few of these left. I don't even fish with them or do nothing. I just keep them for memory's sake. I dig them out and look at them, think about my dad and all the bass we caught on them. We'll catch y'all later.